Okay, picture this. Somewhere in Kenya, a herd of elephants is walking across dry grass. Then one of them stops. She has found a skull. Not a skull of a lion or a zebra, an elephant skull. And what she does next has made scientists rethink everything we thought we knew about animals. She picks it up with her trunk, she turns it over. She runs her trunk along the tusks, slowly, carefully, like she is reading something written in bone. The other elephants gather around. They touch the skull too. Nobody makes a sound. So here is the question that should stop you in your tracks. Does that elephant know this used to be alive? Does she know that one day she will be a pile of bones too? Or is this just an animal poking at an interesting object, the same way a toddler pokes a dead bug on the sidewalk? Today we are going to answer one of the strangest questions in all of science. Do animals understand that they will die? And the answer is not a simple yes or no. It is something much weirder and honestly a lot more disturbing than you might expect. Let's start with the basics. Every living thing has some kind of survival instinct. A fish darts away from a shadow. A rabbit freezes when it hears a snap in the grass. That is not the same as understanding death. That is just fear. Fear keeps you alive right now, in this second. It does not require you to understand that someday you will stop existing forever. Humans are different, or at least we think we are. We are the only species that plans funerals, writes wills, and builds pyramids to survive our own death for thousands of years. We do not just fear dying in the moment. We know with total certainty that it is coming, and we build our entire lives around that fact. So the real question is not whether animals are scared, it's whether any of them understand the big idea. The idea that one day they will simply stop. Let's go back to the elephants because elephants might be the strangest case in the entire animal kingdom. Elephants do something that researchers call the elephant pause. When a herd walks past the body of a dead elephant, even one that died years ago and is now just bones, they stop. Every single time. They touch the bones with their trunks, they sniff them, sometimes they pick up bones and carry them for miles before setting them back down. Here's the part that gets stranger. Elephants react far more strongly to elephant skulls and elephant bones than to the bones of any other animal. Researchers tested this directly. They placed elephant skulls, rhino skulls, and buffalo skulls in the same area. The elephants barely reacted to the rhino and buffalo bones, but the elephant skulls made them stop, gather, and investigate for long stretches of time. That is not random curiosity. That is recognition. Somehow, an elephant looks at a pile of bones and understands, this used to be one of us. There is an even more chilling example. In 2016, a wildlife photographer filmed a herd of elephants surrounding the body of a matriarch who had just died. They did not just glance and move on. They stayed for hours. They touched her with their trunks and feet gently, almost the way you would check if a friend was really asleep or something worse. Young elephants that had never seen death before stood completely still, watching the adults. Scientists have a name for this now. Elephant thanatology, the scientific study of how elephants respond to death. And thanatology is not just about elephants. It shows up again and again across the animal kingdom, in places that will genuinely surprise you. Let's talk about orcas, because one story about a mother whale broke the hearts of scientists around the world. In 2018, a killer whale named Tahlequah gave birth to a calf. The calf died within 30 minutes. And instead of letting the body sink, Tahlequah did something no one expected. She pushed her dead calf through the water using her own head. For 17 days, across more than 1,000 miles of ocean. 17 days. Her pod took turns helping her carry the body when she got tired. There was no biological reason to do this. It did not help her survive. It did not help her find food. Scientists who study orcas called it, very simply, a tour of grief. Now here's the question underneath all of this. Was Tahlequah mourning because she understood her calf was permanently gone forever? Or was this simply a powerful maternal instinct, refusing to let go of a baby that was not responding without any real concept that this loss was final? Nobody can fully answer that. But here is what makes scientists lean towards something deeper. Grief-like behavior like this has now been recorded in dolphins, chimpanzees, giraffes, and even magpies. Magpies have been filmed gathering around a dead magpie, laying grass beside the body, almost like a tiny funeral, then standing silently before flying off. A bird with a brain smaller than your thumb, holding what looks exactly like a funeral. That should not be possible if animals were just simple machines reacting to stimulus. So let's ask the harder question. Even if animals grieve, does grieving mean they understand death the way we do? This is where scientists split into two camps. The first camp says animals are reacting to absence, not understanding death. A mother orca does not need to understand mortality to feel distress when her baby stops moving, stops breathing, and stops responding. The behavior can look exactly like human grief without requiring the same understanding underneath it. This is the same argument used for dogs waiting at doors for owners who died. The dog is not thinking about mortality. The dog is simply confused by an absence that never resolves. The second camp says something bigger is happening, and their strongest evidence comes from chimpanzees. In 2010, researchers filmed an elderly chimpanzee named Pansy as she was dying in a zoo enclosure. Her chimpanzee family gathered around her in her final hours. They groomed her gently. They checked her breathing by placing their hands near her mouth. When she finally died, the group went completely silent for hours. Her adult daughter stayed by the body all night, not eating, not moving away. The next morning, when caretakers moved Pansy's body to bury her, the other chimpanzees became extremely agitated. They avoided the spot where she had died for days afterward. Some researchers believe this shows something extremely close to human grief. Others believe it just shows an intense reaction to disruption in a social group they depend on for survival. Here's a fact that might change how you see this whole debate. Human children do not fully understand death either, not the way adults do. Studies on child psychology show that kids under about 7 years old often think death is temporary, like a nap or something that only happens to other people, not to them. Full adult understanding of death, that it is permanent, universal, and will happen to you personally, actually takes years for the human brain to develop. So maybe the real question is not, do animals understand death like adult humans do? Maybe the real question is, do some animals understand death the way a very young child does? A confusing, frightening absence, without the full weight of knowing it is forever. And if that is true, then some animals might be experiencing something eerily similar to what every single human goes through before they are even old enough to talk about it. Now here is the total opposite end of the spectrum. Ants respond to death too. When an ant dies, workers carry the body outside the colony, like a tiny funeral. For years, people thought that looked like grief. Then, scientists found the real reason. A dead ant releases a chemical called oleic acid. The second that smell appears, other ants treat the body like trash and remove it. Scientists proved this by dabbing oleic acid onto a healthy, living ant. The others dragged their confused, very much alive nestmate straight out of the colony. That is not grief. That is a chemical switch flipping to trash mode. There is one more piece of this puzzle that scientists are only beginning to explore. Some animals appear to change their own behavior when they sense that they themselves are dying. Elephants have been observed separating from the herd in their final days, moving toward specific quiet areas, almost as if searching for somewhere to be alone. Some researchers have even documented cats and dogs withdrawing and hiding right before death, behavior so consistent that hospice caregivers use it as a warning sign. Is that an animal predicting its own death? Or is it simply the body shutting down in a way that happens to look like preparation? We genuinely do not know yet. This is one of the newest and most debated corners of animal science. So where does all of this leave us? The honest answer is uncomfortable. We used to believe understanding death was something only humans could do. Now we have elephants who recognize the bones of their own species, orcas who carry their dead for over 2 weeks, chimpanzees who sit in silence for hours after losing family, magpies who gather like tiny mourners around their dead. None of that proves animals understand death exactly the way we do, but it proves something almost as strange. The line between us and them keeps getting thinner every single year. Science looks closer. Maybe understanding death was never one simple thing that you either have or do not have. Maybe it is something built in layers. Fear first, then grief, then finally the full, heavy knowledge that one day it ends. And maybe some animals are standing somewhere in the middle of that staircase, closer to us than we ever imagined. The next time you look into the eyes of an animal, remember this. Somewhere behind that stair might be a creature that has already stood beside its own dead, touched the bones, and walked away changed. Whether it understood exactly what it was looking at, we still cannot say for certain. And maybe, just maybe, it understood more than we ever gave it credit for.